Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the CJ Show. This is Chirag Joshi. We are shooting episode number 14. It's after a long break that we've come back and excited for the show. Shorter format, quick and easy. Oh, you chose this. Okay, this is gonna be a hard one to explain, but it's okay. We can try. Okay, so this post, as you can see here, I'll tell you, like the backstory of it, right? So I came across a tweet on Twitter where Ola's mobility institute. So Ola has a mobility institute, and I mean it works full time on solving mobility issues and all of that. So they, tweeted an article that said that our transportation system, it's anyway not the best, and it clearly neglects the people who are handicapped in any way, either visually or if they don't have an arm or a leg. So our transportation facilities aren't handicap friendly, and that market is so big. I think it's around $180 billion of opportunity, where now that we're speaking so much about mobility and so many innovations are happening, so such a big chunk of the market is left to be addressed, and it comes across as a very viable market for people to tap into. So I found that very interesting because somewhere in my head even I had that utility use cases based mobility solutions work the best. I mean, like if you solve a particular need of people in terms of transportation, because the older industry wasn't really doing it and the systems that we have right now aren't the best in solving those needs, individual needs. So I thought, mobility solutions, if the companies are coming up, there are so many companies out there, if they can solve these very categorized problems, then it would work wonders, and that would allow them to bring in the new wave of mobility rather, and very organically so, because there's already a need and you address it, so you have a ready market there. So I found that very interesting, and I thought, why not make a post where we could jam ideas on how can we come up with practical solutions for 5 different kinds of disabilities, and then see if they are really applicable and maybe pitch it similar to what we did in the women's safety transportation thing. I try to do that. So yeah, in this post, I mean, the first, it's a carousel, that's what it's called, right? Yeah. It's a 4-post thing on Instagram. So the first is there's mobility for the abled, which there are multiple options. Then the next post is mobility for the disabled. So these are the 5 kinds of: someone who can't hear, people who can't see, who can't speak, who can't walk, and who have a fractured arm or something. And these guys don't really, there's a big question mark there, so they don't really have an option about how do they commute. So there's no option for them that helps them commute, considering that they're disabled in that way. And the third is a snapshot of the whole article that I came across. And the fourth one is where I appealed to people that why not let's jam on ideas and all. Of course we couldn't go ahead with it because even I couldn't come up with practical solutions for it, and so that went kind of sideways. But that's the reason we do this show. If I can bring this again. So these, as I told you, the 5 disabilities, can we come up with practical solutions, mobility solutions that allow them to travel or ease their whole travel out? Because as we know, commuting is such a big part of people's lives, and these guys are unfortunately have these disabilities with them. And if we don't develop our systems in those ways, now that we're talking about the new mobility ushering in, then we're not really making an effort. And I mean, even from a business standpoint, this is such a huge opportunity. So if you're watching this right now, if you think you have ideas to implement these solutions and have some solutions for any one of these disabilities, then it'll be great. And I mean, where you can find me on all of the links in the description. Feel free to hit me up. I always love chatting about these things. So yeah, that was post number 1, and unfortunately I couldn't sort of follow through on it, but let me know if you can. Oh, okay. Did I? Oh, I saved this, right? Okay. Okay, in this post, okay, so this is not about something particular. This is more of uh, my I think it's more of my I've dedicated my life to do this, and this is what's actually required, you know. So I mean, the post is basically there's trend and wave written, and they've been striked out, and then there's culture, and it's written culture of sustainability. So it's basically the idea behind it was, you know, this is not a trend of sustainability, this is not a wave of sustainability, this is actually about building a culture of sustainability. So what do I mean by that, you know? What I mean by that is that, you know, the shift that's happening right now, it's not just technological, right? It's not just we bring in some new tech gimmicks that people can use if they want to. No, we're trying to tell people that, you know, the way they've been living and moving, not just people, even organizations, the way they've been doing that is based on 100-year-old technology, which is the internal combustion engine combined with the oil and gas industry and all of that, right? And clearly, I mean, that's not a sustainable way of going forward. But the world that we know right now is built on those mechanisms and those infrastructures. So merely bringing out one particular vehicle will not help the case. So we need to, and you know, build systems and infrastructures that allow people to live differently, to start living in a different manner. That's what this whole wave of, you know, sustainability is all about. So that's what I was trying to, you know, put out there, that this is not a trend of sustainability, this is not another wave. This, what we're trying to do here is build a culture of sustainability, and honestly that's my life's aim. You know, to build a culture around sustainability. I mean, it's there in my bios everywhere. I'm trying to build a business, community, and culture around sustainability, right? Because I think that building a culture is the ultimate thing that we can do, and hopefully and how we do that is A, through building a community, and B, through building businesses that then, you know, focus on bringing out these behavioral changes in almost every human you meet. So that's how gigantic this whole change is, and that's how much effort needs to be put behind it. So yeah, that was what the post was all about, and I think I also made a wallpaper of it. It's my wallpaper currently. I'll just show it to you. I just keep it. It helps me, you know. So yeah, that's my wallpaper, culture of sustainability. So I keep that, and I've heard a lot of people keep it too. So if you want it, let me know. I'll send it to you as well. I'll come up with different iterations of it. But yeah, that was the post. Yep, we've come to the end of the post section. Prazanya, I don't know if you saw today's post, but Bangalore is now Bangalore is now the world's most congested traffic place on planet Earth. That's the title we've received, guys. Bangaloreans, are you proud of it? I am not one bit proud of that fact. It's insane that we've achieved this number one status in something, and and I don't know how we got here, you know. And it's just, I put out a post about it today, you know, 30th of January 2020, and it was full of rage. This is the most aggressive I've been on an Instagram post, you know. But you know, it's infuriating because, you know, I've grown up in this city. A lot of you have grown up in the city, and we've seen it grow. It's been such a beautiful city. It's enabled us to do a lot of things, but unfortunately, the downside of it has been this, that, you know, the civic authorities and, you know, maybe the government hasn't paid enough attention on this part. They were just enjoying the laurels that the city was getting and completely ignored the fact that this city was not built to handle this kind of human traffic, and then of course vehicular traffic as well. So I mean, that's landed us in this situation, and I feel very sad, you know, more than angry. I feel sad that you know, that the last decade we were able to grow so, you know, expansively, and that our leaders couldn't sort of envision what that would cause in terms of city planning, and that's landed up in this situation. And what's happening, the worst part of this whole thing is that people are spending 10 days extra of their lives on Bangalore roads just because of the traffic. 10 days, that's 243 hours. Okay, that's how much people are spending extra just because they live in Bangalore. Now that may not seem a lot, but that is a lot, because considering, you know, when you say a city is progressive or is the city to go live in, then we're talking quality of life. And if you're taking away 10 days from someone's lives, okay, not just so everyone, all of us lose a lot of days just in traffic, unusual amounts of time. So everyone loses equal amount of time, but still, then that results in not a quality of life. How can you call that a higher standard of living or higher quality of life? People are literally giving up jobs because of the traffic, and that just beats the point of the city. Maybe we've grown exponentially in the last decade, but if we don't do something about it right now, then the next decade will sort of see the demise of the city, and it is going to be horrible, if you don't do something about it. Because people are literally, I haven't heard this, people are literally giving up jobs and greater opportunities just because they don't want to travel so much, and they don't want to lose out on the time they have to spend with family and friends, and just there's so much to life than just work, right? And that's the saddest part of this whole stat. It's not the number one status and whatever, it's sad. The sadder part is that people like you, I'm sure you work or you go to college or whatever, we're losing such precious time in our lives just because of the shitty traffic, and people on top aren't doing their job well in terms of doing the right kind of planning. So I think okay, so, I mean, yeah, of course this is a huge problem, but there's no reason to be bogged down by it. At an individual level, you can still do, there are still options like you lose, and riding a bicycle to work. There are multiple options to beat this whole challenge, but it's a temporary solution. I'll say the permanent solution will come in the form of us in sort of inculcating in our own behavior. Again, back to the a culture of sustainability, where we have to forego the whole thing of taking our cars to work when we're the only ones sitting in it. 85% of the cars around in a traffic have one person sitting in it, one person only. Imagine if all of those people could be pushed in a bus. Imagine the amount of space you save, right? So we'll have to start doing that on our own level. And I mean, there's no time to wait for people at the top, and just hoping for them to solve for the city. If we want to save it, if we want to do better about it, if we want to gain back the time that we're losing because of traffic, we've got to step up and take these things. And honestly, it's a better way of doing it as well. I'm not saying you do it every day. Do it on Fridays, do it on whatever day you pick, midweek, Saturday, Sundays. It's your it's your pick, but we'll have to do that. So yeah, that was the saddening, shocking, this thing came on the front headlines of Times of India. It was the first big story on Times of India, and what can I say, as soon as I saw it, I just couldn't believe it. I mean, what are we doing? So yeah, clearly a lot of work needs to be done, but I mean, this channel is not to discuss about the problems, it's to discuss about the solutions to those problems. So I've given you a few. If you have some ways of handling this and have some solutions for it, feel free to hit me up. Thank you so much for watching. As usual, I'm gonna appeal again to the creatives out there. I know someone who has taken up as a challenge to recreate all the posts on my channel in order to better his designing skills. He's gonna be studying transportation studies in the coming years, and he wants to hone his designing skills by redesigning all of the posts that we've done on our platform, which is great. It's super humbling. So thank you so much for that. So again, if there are more people like this gentleman, then I'd love to hear your stories out and see what you can create. Thank you so much for watching. This is episode 14. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye bye, and be driven differently.